Shabbat Shalom. I'm Cantor David Proser of Kempsville Conservative Synagogue in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And this is our Torah portion commentary for the Shabbat of Saturday, February 20th, 2021, corresponding to the 8th day of the month of Adar in the Hebrew calendar in the year 5781. We thank Rabbi Joseph Prauser, Rabbi Joyce Newmark, Rabbi Michael Gold, Rabbi Avram Kogan, and the United Synagogue Torah Spark series for their various teachings and publications on this week's Parsha. This Shabbat, February 20th, we read Parshat Terumah in the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus. It begins on page 485 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 326 of the Hertz. It's also Shabbat Zachor, the second of 4 special Shabbatot preceding Pesach that gives messages in special Maftir or Haftorah portions that alert us to the coming of the upcoming festivals and our responsibilities as we approach them. The highlight of last week's Parsha was the giving of 53 mitzvot that took the Big 10 laws of the Decalogue and added many of the day-to-day legal details that were needed to establish an orderly community. The Parsha concluded with Moshe going up Mount Sinai to commune with God for 40 days and 40 nights, receiving the tablets of the Decalogue, the Aseret Dibrot. This week's Parsha, Terumah, opens with God instructing Moshe to call for Israelites whose hearts so move them to contribute gifts for the construction and upkeep of the portable sanctuary, the Mishkan. The people were not forced to contribute their time or wealth. The right to choose to participate in the project was one of the first lessons in freedom that the people would receive during their sojourn in the wilderness. The call goes out for precious metals, fine fabrics, skins, wood, oil, spices, and jewels. God's call includes the words found on many synagogue dedication plaques, V'yasu li mikdash v'shochanti b'tocham, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. The sanctuary will be a symbolic dwelling place for the divine presence within the camp of the wandering Israelites. Notice that the Torah does not say that God will dwell in the sanctuary, but rather that God will dwell among the people. The sanctuary itself is described in detail, along with many of the accoutrements and ritual objects used there. Among these items used in construction and decoration of the tabernacle are a variety of exotic materials, dolphin skins and lapis lazuli, for example. According to gemologist Jane Herzig, lapis may have been chosen because, strictly speaking, it's a rock, not a gem, and therefore becomes valuable in proportion to its composite material. Lapis, thus, is a reflection of the composite nature of the people Israel, which is enhanced by its various tribal constituents and diverse individual members. Among the appurtenances of the sanctuary described in our Parsha are the ephod and breastplate used by the priest, the ark together with its cover adorned with cherubim to hold the tablets of the Decalogue, and the sanctuary table. Gold bowls, ladles, and jugs were for use on the table, which is where the bread offering was placed. The description continues with a 7-branched candelabra made of solid gold. This 7-branch menorah that stood in the tabernacle now serves as the symbol and the official seal of the state of Israel. The brass altar and its implements also are described. The construction of the tabernacle itself, which was based on the design revealed to Moshe atop Mount Sinai, is described with attention to fine detail. Every loop, plank, peg, socket, and hook is specified. Curtains and screens separate the Holy of Holies from the surrounding sanctuary and courtyard. The altar of wood, overlaid with bronze, was to be placed outside the screen. The entire Mishkan was to be surrounded by an enclosure made of linen curtains, supported by wooden planks with bronze and silver fittings. According to Rabbi Avram Kogan, the timeline of events from this point to the end of Exodus is elusive. As presented in the text, we read the commandment to the Israelites regarding the construction of the Mishkan, followed by the incident of the golden calf, later followed by the actual assembly of the Mishkan. The incident of the golden calf is unsettling enough, yet we can understand the people's lack of spiritual direction during Moshe's 40-day absence. But it's hard to understand how the Israelites could have felt such a pressing need for a physical representation of God if they were in the midst of a project to construct the Mishkan, the sanctuary. Even Rashi, the preeminent Torah scholar, felt that this was a problem. He says, there is not a strict chronology in the Torah. The incident of the golden calf preceded the commandment of the construction of the Mishkan by many days. This principle does not imply any disrespect for the Torah. It simply acknowledges that the Torah was designed as a book that teaches values, not as a history book. I mentioned earlier that this was also Shabbat Zachor. The Maftir reading for Shabbat Zachor is found in the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verses 17 to 19, found on page 1135 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 856 of the Hertz. This reading relates to the commandment to remember what Amalek did to the Israelites as they came out of Egypt, how they attacked from the rear and smote the old, the defenseless, and the weary. Therefore, the Israelites are commanded, when they settle in the promised land and God delivers all their enemies, to not only totally destroy them, but to blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens and not to forget. Because Haman, the villain of the Purim story, was a descendant of Agag, the king of Amalek, we read this Maftir on the Shabbat preceding Purim. The Haftorah for this week is from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verses 1 to 34, beginning on page 1280 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 995 of the Hertz. Just like on Shabbat Shekalim last week, our Haftorah portion this week relates to the calendar, to Shabbat Zachor, rather than to our Torah portion of Terumah. The Amalekites not only attacked Israel as they left Egypt, they also opposed Israel's entrance into the Holy Land. According to Dr. Hertz, it was a hereditary hatred. They were the allies of the Midianites who harassed the Israelites in the days before the Judges. The feud between the Israelite tribes and the Amalekites, referred to as an untamable race of savages, was of long duration. The Haftorah opens with the command to exterminate them and was probably given in response to their raids having become more numerous and more bloody. In verse 3, Samuel the prophet tells Saul, king of Israel, to strike down Amalek and commit cherem, utter destruction, against him and all that is his. You shall not have pity on him. You shall put everyone to death, man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. Dr. Hertz reminds us that the moral difficulty in connection with this command is very real. It seems to be in violent contrast to the divine law which forbids vengeance. However, the truest mercy sometimes lies in the dispensation of the strictest justice. It was clear to Samuel that the struggle with these ancient and ever hostile opponents was a matter of life and death to Israel. And so Samuel reminds Saul of his responsibility to destroy this nation. But Saul fails. He kills almost all the people, but the Israelites and Saul have pity on Agag, king of the Amalekites, and they do not kill him. They do not kill the animals, and they do not kill all that was good. In response, Samuel strips the kingship from Saul and kills Agag himself. Shabbat Zachor precedes the festival of Purim, the story of which is recorded in the scroll of Esther. Haman, the arch-enemy of the Jews, was deemed to be a descendant of Amalek. Shabbat Zachor reminds us of their inhumanity. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button below. Please like and hit the notification bell so that you'll always know when we post new content, and feel free to leave comments below. Thank you again for watching. Shabbat Shalom.